You might think we know a lot more about sugar now than we did, say, 50, 60 years ago. But the fact is, we could have known a lot more a lot earlier. Back in 1965, the sugar industry paid 3 Harvard scientists to shift public attention away from the strong evidence between sugar consumption and heart disease and other chronic diseases to shift the focus to fat instead. While fat hung in the gallows for being the biggest killer of all, sugar had its knuckles lightly wrapped for having its effect on our teeth. So for decades, the conversation about fat and sugar and their health impact on our health had been skewed. And in that time, sugar has sweetly talked its way into practically every packaged product on the shelves, and now trying to undo the damage and expel it from our foods is almost as difficult as extracting the H from H2O. And it all comes down to addiction, which is the focus of this video today. I want to share with you why we get addicted to sugar and, of course, give you some actionable tips to help you overcome your sugar addiction. So make sure you stay to the end to learn all the tricks. All right, so where were we? Sugar is addictive, and things with sugar, which is practically everything in our supermarket, which is not in the fresh produce aisle, are addictive. Which means people want more of these things, so they buy more of these things. And before you can say Wrigley or Hershey, you've got a sweet tooth, sugar-crazed, addicted market that is going to make you rich. Think about it. People have been chewing on cocoa leaves in South America for thousands of years with no evidence of addiction. Fast forward to today, if you isolate those components in those leaves into cocaine, let's just say it ain't good for you. And it turns out the same may be true about sugar as well. When we take it away from its whole original form, like a whole fruit or sweet potatoes, then suddenly our cravings skyrocket. And thanks to PET scans and imaging technology that can measure brain activity, we now know that sugary treats cause nearly as much excitement in your head as drugs do on addicts. Check out this publication from the Institute of Clinical Psychology that showed decreased dopamine sensitivity in obese individuals. Now, dopamine is the neurotransmitter primarily involved in the pleasure and reward center of our brain, helping to motivate our drive for things like food, water, and sex. The more it increases, the more we crave the same sensation. In this study, the researchers found that while your waistline expands, so does your resistance to pleasure and reward. We see the same reduction in sensitivity in cocaine addicts and alcoholics. It appears the same decrease in responsiveness is seen across multiple addictions. Now, the average American consumes approximately 25 teaspoons of sugar per day, which is slightly more than 3 12-ounce cans of Coca-Cola. People from Germany or the Netherlands consume 20 teaspoons. The Irish consume 19 teaspoons, with Aussies not far behind. After just a few weeks of high consumption like this, sugar hijacks our brain's pleasure centers by thinning out its pleasure receptors in a process called downregulation. This coup d'etat leaves us craving more and more sweetness and takes more stimulation to create a normal response. So a signal is sent out to eat more sugar, and the brain responds by taking even more receptors hostage. This becomes a cycle until a brain scan of an overweight person and a brain scan of a person addicted to cocaine look the same. Let's look at another study. In 1949, a colony of mice showing severe obesity and having an appetite larger than the state of Texas was identified in the Jackson Laboratory in Maine. Unlike other mice, they had no desire to jump around, to move. They were just either eating or sleeping. So why were these mice acting so strangely? Why weren't they running around the wheelie, doing mice things? Well, after a lot of testing, the scientists finally were able to put their finger on it. They had been born without the gene that makes leptin. Leptin is the hormone that tells us when we're full and when we need to move. And so what they did, they injected leptin into the mice, and their eating habits calmed down. They were soon bouncing around like dodgem cars. And interestingly, they became then. Now, unfortunately, before you get too excited, injecting ourselves with leptin isn't the same magical elixir for weight loss as it was for the mice. Why? Because overweight humans are not lacking in leptin. In fact, they have more leptin in their blood than thin people. The problem isn't that they don't have it, but it's being blocked by the brain by another hormone, insulin. Insulin is our hormone that lets glucose, or sugar, into our cells to be used as energy. However, the sugar in our diet is elevating insulin far beyond what our bodies can handle. Recent research on overweight kids has shown that the average insulin levels rise a whopping 45% between grade school and high school, which has created a surge in type 2 diabetes. So sugar is not only down-regulating our dopamine receptors to make sugar highly addictive, it's also spiking our insulin, which blocks our ability to use leptin, the hormone which tells us to stop eating. Now, I'm going to leave the subject of corporate influence on nutrition policy for another time, but I can't help but wonder what would have happened if those Harvard scientists hadn't been bribed by big sugar. Maybe we could have started this conversation about sugar and addiction much sooner, and potentially millions of people could have been spared from decades of unwanted cravings and a dependency on a nutrient-poor product that the world has come to see and think of as normal, thanks to largely, in part, to aggressive marketing tactics. But anyway, let's forget that for now and focus on you. So tell me, in the comments, is sugar addiction something that you've been struggling with? Have you got some strategies to help you relinquish your dependency on this substance? Put your responses in the comments, and please, while you're there, please like and subscribe to help us get this sort of information out. And now, I want to share some tips that can really help put that sweet demon behind you. Number one is acknowledgement. Like with any addiction, the first step is to acknowledge that you have one. Now, many of us genuinely believe we are healthy. We have a bowl of Cheerios with almond milk for breakfast. We have a hamburger for lunch, which has salad on it. And we may have a few snacks mid-afternoon or just one soft drink, but only on the days when we need a pick-me-up. Then in the evening, we have a delicious home-cooked dinner consisting of potatoes, even some veggies, some protein, followed by a small helping of dessert, maybe some chocolate, okay, and maybe a little bit of dessert wine. But we're having veggies and plant-based milk and lettuce in our hamburger, and we rarely order fast food. Okay, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but I want you to recall this week what foods you're eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, and your snacks and drinks and everything, and take an objective step back and calculate how much sugar is in each food. Add it all up and you might be surprised. Look, you may pat yourself on the back, and that is a great confirmation that you're doing the right things. Or you might need to acknowledge that there's some work to be done, but it's a very well worth exercise to do. Number two, educate yourself about how to read labels. Just because something doesn't look sweet doesn't mean it's not void of sugar. So when you look at a label, you want to check that it does not contain added sugar. This means that the product had no sugars added during processing and no ingredients that contain sugar like jam. Added sugars are often listed by sneaky names such as corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, or glucose. Because they don't want to list sugar as one of the top 2 or 3 ingredients in a product, manufacturers will often break it into several different kinds of sugars, and so they appear later in the list. Also, the label reports how many grams or units per serving. So you should be aware that if you eat double the serving amount, you'll need to double the numbers. Number 3, taper off your dosage. Like tobacco and other drugs, it can be very hard to go cold turkey. It can be done, of course, but for most people, it's near impossible. So the best thing to do right now is, number 1, work out how much sugar you're having every day. Number 2, decide how much you're going to cut your sugar intake by. And 3, work out where you're going to make the cuts. After a few days or weeks, make another cut and gradually taper off until, voila, you're sugar-free. Number 4, avoid temptations and replace with alternatives. Honestly, who are we kidding? Do we have any more resolve just because we're adults? Don't worry, you're not alone. Temptation is usually place-specific. That is, while the visual cue is right in front of you. If you move away from the sight of temptation and actively do something else for 5 minutes, your mind will most probably forget the sugary treat and focus on what's at hand. So just keep on walking. Another helpful tip, Don't buy sugary treats to have at home. As I always say to a loved one in my life, the battle is won at the grocery store, and it's so much easier to avoid sugar if it's not actually even in your house. No willpower needed. And on that, don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, as that is really setting you up for failure. Number 5, replace with healthy alternatives. There really are some really good healthy alternatives out there to sugar. Besides fruit, which is by far the healthiest, there are some other ones that can at least help you go about curbing your cravings. We cover the healthiest alternatives in this video, which I'll link to again at the end. Even while you go to gatherings or events, look around. There's usually a safer, more wholesome way to appetize to appease your sweet tooth. There is almost always fruit available at these gatherings, and even better, you could bring your own grapes or berries in a small container. Also, eating a healthy meal at home before you go out will also make you less likely to give in to temptations. Number 6, have an accountability partner. Get yourself some buddies to go on this journey with you. Make them suffer with you. I'm just joking. Don't look at it like suffering. In fact, make it as fun as possible by experimenting in the kitchen with non-sugary desserts. Invite your friends over to try your delicious creations and make them come with their own sugar-free treats for you to try. The more fun you make the process, the more likely you'll stick with it long term. Number 7, if you fall, get up again. Don't stay down. And of course, if you do absolutely find yourself unable to resist and you do have a cookie or a piece of chocolate or 2 or 3 or 4, don't panic. Don't think of yourself as a failure. And more importantly, do not say, well, I've blown it. I might as well just eat every bad thing in sight. Rather than mindlessly chowing down on that piece of cake, make it a learning experience. Revel in the moment and savor all of its sugary goodness one bite. Take one bite to fully taste what you already knew it was. Revel in the moment and savor all its sugary goodness. Take one bite to fully taste what you already knew it was. Then tell yourself, yep, I don't need any more. And look for a healthier alternative like a piece of fruit and feel proud knowing your inner fortitude is getting stronger every day. Well, thanks for hanging with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something, and I hope it was an encouragement to slay the sugary beast yourself. Now, here's a reminder, if you want to learn more about sugar and its effects on the body and some of the healthier alternatives, check out this video here. I look forward to seeing you there.